All right, it is 3:30, so I'm going to call the Executive Committee to order. Roll call, I see all members present with the exception of Member Lehman. So thank you for being here tonight. I will remind you that the City Council will be here at 6 o'clock, and so if we are not finished by 5:45, we will all have to reconvene tomorrow morning. So take that into consideration as we have discussion, because we have to have it done before the full board meeting. All right, next up we have item 2, consent agenda to A and B, approval of the minutes. We don't have any to be presented. And recommended payment of bills and transfers to the county board. May I have a motion? Motion by Rogal, second by Klein. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 2 say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, item 3, request to speak by members of the public or county employees.
Chair Johnston, we've had no requests this evening.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 4, board appointments and reappointments. If there are no objections, I'd like to combine A and B together. With the exception of under 4A, we will be pulling the Bloomington Township Public Water District. That was actually still in discussion and not meant to be added quite yet. So I'll be pulling that. Any objections to A and B together? Okay, may I have a motion? Motion by Klein, second by Byrne. Comments or questions as amended? Seeing none, all in favor of item 4A and B, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to departmental matters. Under 5A1A, we do have multiple items for action under technology, and that is request approval of the Sanborn, for A1 is Sanborn GIS aerial proposal. May I have a motion? Motion by Abel, second by Friedrich. And I'll turn that over to IT.
Thank you. Yeah, every 4 years we fly an aerial to update the GIS system for this region. And we are at the point where we need to do that again. And so we issued an RFP. We have the results on that page. And the one that we are recommending, Sanborn, does come in under budget. And we have used them in the past and had good experience with them. So we'd like to recommend them for the RFP and enter into contract negotiations.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A1A1, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, 5A1A2, request approval of the annual renewal of the Aegis on-premises system. May I have a motion? Motion by Abel, second by Rogal. I'll turn that back over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is the annual renewal for the Aegis Integrated Justice System. As you know, we are working on replacing it. This is a system that is still in place and still needs to be used. Although law enforcement has gone live on the new system, we still have the jail and courts and other systems that are dependent upon this one. We did negotiate a reduction in price due to bringing down the user count of those that are using the system. And so I bring this for your approval.
Comments or questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A1A2, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, 5A1A3, request approval of the Okta Identify Provider Solution through joint purchasing contract. May I have a motion? Motion by Rogal, second by Byrne. Back to you.
I'm going to pass the baton over here to Mr. Berger, he's been the lead on this project.
So this is the piece for ATIM's JMS solution to allow other organizations to access it as needed. So State Police, Bloomington Normal, ISU, and the rurals, and allow the rurals to manage their users independently of us.
Okay. Comments or questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A1A3, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, 5A1A4, request approval of a contract amendment for the ERP system with Tyler Technologies. May I have a motion? Motion by Byrne. May I have a second? Second by Rogal. Back over to you.
Just a moment here, getting to the right. I went with paper tonight, so.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. We have two things with Tyler tonight, so I want to make sure I had the right one. Yeah, and as we've been working through the ERP system and implementing, we discovered there were two modules that we do not need to move forward with. And so worked with the sales rep in order to get a credit back on those for money we had already paid in for that use this year. And so this is really just to authorize us getting that credit against our next invoice.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor of a credit on 5A1, A4, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, 5A1, A5, request approval of an agreement with Accurate Controls to update and maintain the jail NVR. May I have a motion? Motion by Klein. May I have a second? By Rogal. Back to you.
Once again, passing the lead to Mr. Berger as he's been lead on this project.
So this is a two-part item. One is the NVR needs to be upgraded to have, I believe, 90 days of storage as opposed to the 30 currently. There's also a portion of the item of the memo to update some of the computers that are responsible to controlling the SCADA system in the jail. Currently, they're running Windows 10. They're very highly segmented off from the internet and the rest of the network. But as things are modernizing, we have to break that down, and we need to, so that they can get to the internet to get updates and access ATEMs. So we need their assistance to update the software that does that to support Windows 11 and then deploy Windows 11 on those computers.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? Just a quick side question to administration. I feel like the 90 days will assist with some of the issues we've been having at the jail where there's been time lapse.
Absolutely, that is a recommendation by jail administration. They've updated their policies, and this would keep the technology up with that new policy.
Other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A1A5, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Last item for action from IT is 5A1A6, request approval and amendment to a software as a service agreement with Tyler Technologies for the record management system. Can I get a motion? Motion by Rogal. May I have a second? Second by Friedrich. Back to you.
So as we've worked on putting together the new integrated justice system with the records management from one provider, jail from another, courts from another, we found that there are a few gaps in the places where these pieces fit together that we had, and with the single product that's still in place today, that we need to cover with something that's not covered by any of those providers between themselves. And so this contract, the Sheriff's Office, Records Office, has been heavily involved with reviewing this and looking at this software. And they actually brought this to me as a recommendation, and then we took a look. And so I bring that for your approval, and this would, that's the gap that this would cover. And I am asking here to purchase it using Sourcewell, which gives us an automatic 10% discount on the pricing.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? I realize this is filling in the gaps for some of our team. Will this assist with some of the gaps that we've seen in Town of Normal as well?
I'm sorry.
That we've had complaints from the Town of Normal as well?
This will be more county oriented. This is
Okay.
more about court paper service and
Okay.
process and that end of things. So
Being able to access, okay, thank you. Other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A1A6, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up on the item, on the agenda is 5A1B, and these are presented for information, so I'll turn that back over to Mr. Nelson.
yeah, as you can see, I've listed some items there, standard things we've been doing. We have delivered training on the new jail system. By the time this committee meets next month, we'll be live on that. It goes live the first weekend in December. We are continuing with our ERP replacement, and there's details on the following report. If you have questions about that. And the rest of this, kind of standard stuff, but I will be happy to address any questions you have out of that material.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? I see we've been getting assistance from CLA for some of the paperwork for the ERP system.
Actually, I haven't had to interact with them yet. We did find out that they can provide it as needed under the current contract. We don't need an amendment because they have a rate in there for that. So
Okay.
I would have to confer with Sanford Hess, but I don't think that we've actually exercised that yet.
Yeah, but we have the opportunity to.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for IT? Thank you so much. We will move on to item 5A2, Behavioral Health Coordination Department. Ms. Landreth, we have quite a few items as well for action, and we'll start with item 5A2A1. This is request approval of an amendment to the contract with Home Sweet Home Ministries. And may I have a motion? Motion by Byrne. May I have a second? By Abel. Ms. Landreth.
This is an amendment to our current contract with Home Sweet Home Ministries to reallocate $122,804 from the personnel budget line to the construction budget line. Because of circumstances beyond the control of Home Sweet Home, there has been a delay related to construction, which means that staff training will be starting later. So because of that, they've asked to move some of that money from the personnel line to the construction line. So this amendment does not represent an increase in the total amount of the award, but simply a budget change.
Comments or questions from the committee? Yes, Member Reeves.
Can you give us some color on what the $122,000 delays were?
It's my understanding there are some delays related to electricity around installing the electrical amount. The amount that was chosen was more related to, was calculated based on the staff that would not necessarily need to start at that time, as opposed to a specific amount required due to construction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Member Klein.
Just for my own edification, so in my grants, if I deviate in a budget category by more than 10%, I have to ask for a request. Is that what we do as well? Is that our standard?
That specific guidance was not, a percentage amount was not specified in the contract, but because there was a change in the budget amount, that is why we came forward with this change, since it was a change in the
So the
contract.
bottom line has also, but you said the award hasn't. So
Correct.
You're just moving from budget category, so yeah.
Correct.
So it might be smart in the future to have a rule about budget category, because if I spend out of travel more than 10% more, I have to ask the administrator if that's
Right.
okay. If it's less than 10% more, it's fine,
Sure.
right? So it might be smart to have a kind of a standard rule on that.
Member Reeves.
So if it's electrical, did the material go up? I'm not following where this $122,000, that'd be 4% of a $2.8 million budget. Where's the money going?
I do have Matt Burgess here if there are specific questions to that amount of detail.
Mr. Burgess will make his way up. He can come right here.
Any of the
Any of the seats here will be fine. And just hit the little talk button on the bottom right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to try and provide a little clarity. The money that we're requesting to move would have been spent on hiring personnel if we didn't have a delay. We have a delay in the delivery of the switchgear, which is what distributes the power across the campus. So that cost is no different than what it already was. It's really because of the timing of hiring of staff being pushed back by 6 or 8 weeks. We had money in the personnel line that we anticipated not needing to use for personnel hiring, training costs. And so we're asking to reallocate that to help cover some of the construction costs.
Other comments or questions? Yes, Vice Chair Rodell.
So I'm trying to grasp what exactly is going on. So the switcher is not ordered, or is it not in? And if so, why is the 122,000 being just moved over to construction?
The switchgear was ordered it's a custom assembled piece of circuitry. I don't really know that territory well myself. But our contractor said it's a 20-week lead time from point of order to delivery. And so that's what we're just waiting for it to be delivered, to be constructed and delivered according to the supplier's timeline. That was not known that it was going to be a delay at the time that we were awarded the contract with the county. And so we planned to hire staff earlier than we are actually hiring staff, because we didn't need to bring them on board as soon. If we were opening here in 3 or 4 weeks, we'd have our staff in place already to give them a training period and get them up to speed. Because that's now pushed back later, we've delayed hiring. The $122,000 would have paid for the dozen staff that we are hiring to run this shelter program for that intervening time. And so because we're not using it for personnel, it's in the contract award, we're asking to reallocate that to cover some of the construction costs instead.
Member Reeves, sorry. All right, Member Klein.
Point of clarification, maybe for you, Ms. Landreth. When does the contract end? I mean, why, in other words, can we not simply extend the contract and allow Home Sweet Home to delay the expenditure on the staff? Because what I'm seeing, you're kind of moving this into a bucket, and you're going to start paying for construction things that you might have spent other monies on, right? And you're kind of you want to use up this grant amount. When does this grant actually terminate? When is their time clock?
The grant terminates at the end of 2025.
Is it not smarter for us to extend that deadline rather than permitting the shifting within the buckets?
That is an option that we could pursue.
Okay.
Member Reeves.
So from the date that we approved this contract to the end of 25, you should have enough time for your 20 weeks. So what I don't seem to understand, you keep talking about moving the 120,000 from the personnel to the construction side. So where is the extra 120,000? What are you going to spend that on? If there's a delay in the project was quoted at X, there's no additional expense, but yet we're going to throw $122,000 at extra expense. That money was out, in my opinion, was allocated to take care of people, and now that's being delayed.
I just want to make sure that's a question for me, is that right? That money, that $122,000 is other construction costs that we're incurring anyway as part of the project. So this would just be to shift a larger portion of the initial award from being a split between capital and personnel to be more predominantly a capital grant. That we could have asked for the money in that regard originally, but we were looking to try and offset some of the personnel costs that have not materialized because of the timing of things. And as far as the specific timing of the switchgear to be delivered, that was from the point of the electrical engineering process being finalized. I honestly couldn't tell you how closely aligned to award of this grant to Home Sweet Home and when that engineering work was completed, but it was clearly completed subsequent to the award.
Member Byrne.
So you mentioned that this grant ends at the end of 2025. Is this a case if this money, since it is not going to be used on personnel, if this money is not used in some way that we would lose out on this money because the grant ends at 2025? Can you confirm whether or not that's the case?
So if I could turn it over to Administrator Taylor to answer
Sorry,
some of the questions from a logistics standpoint.
So the money, if this action item is voted down, the 122,000 that was allocated for staffing costs would go back into the Mental Health and Public Safety Fund reserves, if you will.
Understood. Thank you.
The overall, to answer some previous questions that came up, The overall cost of the award is not being asked to be changed, so there's a number of ways that you could do it. If we extended the contract, then the same dollar amount would be spent, the 122 and change would go towards personnel costs in the first quarter of 2026. Or you could make this change and it would go towards construction cost. I think the thing that we need to remember is the award that was received from the county is not the total price of the project. So there was additional construction costs and additional staffing costs and operational costs that were not covered by the county. So this is moving it from one bucket to another, changing the time frame, changing the allocation would be the same end result of the same award. But if you voted this down and did not extend the award, then we would be reducing this award by 122 and change, and it would be going back into the reserves of the Mental Health and Public Safety Fund.
Member Klein.
I just want to remind all of ourselves that we made a resolution, we passed a resolution as a board to honor the decisions that were made in the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council and FAC, and that those two bodies awarded the money as allocated originally. And I think it would be smarter for us to extend the deadline than to reallocate funds that were decided upon by these two bodies before us. So I don't know procedurally, Dawn, how to do this. If I can amend this proposal as it is, if that would be a friendly amendment, if we need to vote that down and then do something different. But I understand the expediency, the need to get this done. Well, I mean, I guess we could do it in December, but I think it would be better for Home Sweet Home to know sooner rather than later.
I think you could propose an amendment.
Mike.
I think you could propose an amendment and vote on that, and then go ahead and vote on the item as amended.
Okay. So unless anybody, you want to say something before I make it? Did you want to speak before I make this amendment, this proposal?
Member Reeves.
So I would support what Ms. Klein's saying, because I think we allocated this capital to take care of these people. Even though I voted against it, since it's on the books, let's spend the money to take care of the people. Ms. Klein.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to amend item 5A2, A1, which is a request of approval of an amendment to the contract of Home Sweet Homes to not reallocate the funding internally to the grant, but to extend the deadline until. Do you have a?
I'd have to do the math on personnel costs for first quarter. I can get that back promptly, but I don't have that here right now.
Let's say, would 6 months be too much? Let's say 6 months, extend the deadline until June
30th?
End of June 2026. That would give you plenty of time to do that. Okay. That's my motion.
So it would be a motion under section 2 of the agreement.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have an amendment on the floor and one motion by Member Klein. May I have a second? Second by Rogal. Comments or questions? Extending the award to June 30th, 2026. Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. That brings us back to item 5A2A1 as amended. Any further comments, questions, discussion? Member Klein.
I would just say from my point of view, I don't think that this should in any way affect Home Sweet Home's ability to return to the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council for additional follow-on monies. But this would, I think the legal term is sort of without prejudice, that's a word, without prejudice in that sense. So I'm just sort of stating for the record that I don't want this to be held, as in any way affecting their future applications.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A2A1 as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, item 5A2A2, request approval of an agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of Bloomington Normal. Can I get a motion? Motion by Burns, second by Abel. Ms. Landrith.
This is a contract as a result of a recent notice of funding opportunity that we put out this year for emerging behavioral health services, which was a specific part of 2025's Community Projects Fund that was approved by, that was recommended by the FAC. We had released that NOFO specifying that we were looking for services that were considered essential community behavioral health services, meaning they were either unduplicated in the community or services that might be duplicated in type but are unique to a specific population that has limited access to said services, and that this organization has had experienced or will experience an interruption in those services related to an unexpected funding loss. So not necessarily a scheduled end of a grant, but an unexpected cancellation of a grant, something along those lines. We ended up receiving 2 proposals. So the first contract is for a contract with the Boys and Girls Club of Bloomington Normal. The contract for this specific award is for up to $190,000 to help provide supportive services for the children that attend the Boys and Girls Club as related to some specific granting awards that were unexpectedly lost that are listed in the memo here.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A2A2, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, item 5A2A3, request approval of an agreement with the McLean County Center for Human Services. Can I get a motion? Motion by Burns, second by Rogal. Back to you, Ms. Landrith.
This is a contract that is for the second award, which is for McLean County Center for Human Services. This is for an award of up to $100,095, and this is specific for a supportive housing program that they support. So these funds would be going directly to ensuring that families in McLean County who are participating in this specific program would be able to stay housed through this program through the rest of the year.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A2A3, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item is item 5A2A4, request approval of a contract with PESI to provide motivational interviewer training. May I get a motion? Motion by Rogal, second by Abel. Back to you.
This is a contract with PESI to provide some motivational interviewing training. Later on, it'll be, we're looking at December and early into January 2026. This was specifically allotted from a portion of the community projects funds to support professional development in our community, and motivational interviewing as a topic of training was specifically recommended by the members of the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council. We've had the good fortune to have a very successful training with EMDR and DBT that has been set up. Those are specific training modalities that are useful more for counselors and therapists, whereas motivational interviewing is a skill that is more generalized and should be more widely available to someone who is at a front desk, someone who is doing maybe associate's degree or bachelor's level case management. So we're looking forward to being able to provide this training to a wider, perhaps a wider level of folks with varying backgrounds of training.
Thank you. Comments or questions? This particular grant, I think, is going out to 300 participants, so widening that just a bit. All right, no comments or questions? Oh, yes, Member Reeves.
Did we define a costs for this and how many people? You said 300?
It's 300 people that they were doing they were also doing the virtual and the in-person is the split. The particular cost on
Is that for
this,
the 7,000 for in-person and 5,000 for
I believe so,
300 people?
from PESI, yep.
Half of we're offering it both in person and virtually to accommodate a variety of different schedules and working, different kinds of work schedules that people might have.
Member Reeves?
So is this just open-ended? That's $1.5 million at 500,000, or 300 at 500. 300 people at 5,000 apiece.
Not 5,000 apiece.
That's what it says here. Virtual for up to 75, yes?
Hold on.
Oh, that's 75. 5,000 for up to 75?
Correct, so 5,000 would be for up to 75.
So you're going to have,
I'm sorry, I think to 150.
how many of these do you expect to have to cover the 300 people?
There will be 4 sessions.
Virtual?
Half of them will be virtual and half of them will be in person.
So for under 20 grand.
The total allotment for the professional development portion of the community projects was set for $200,000. So even with this, the wide majority of that was spent on the EMDR training. But we wanted to make sure to have options that were available to people who had less than a master's level so that we could promote improvement throughout the behavioral health workforce continuum.
Comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor of item 5A2A4, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item is 5A2A5, request approval of an extension to a clinical affiliation agreement with UIUC School of Social Work. Can I have a motion? Motion by Abel, second by Byrne. Ms. Landreth?
University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign has a social work degree program. Specifically, their master's degree program has a program with an emphasis on leadership and social change, which taps into a lot of the work that the department does. We recently had one of our staff members go through this program, and so we were able to arrange an internship with them to kind of help them to expand what that view of social work is, and we had a very successful run of that. So this is simply an extension of that clinical affiliation agreement so that we might be able to offer that opportunity to future students at the U of I in Urbana-Champaign.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A2A5, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. If there are no objections from the committee, I would like to combine items A6, A7, A8, and A9. These are all part of the System of Care grant. All right, so I am looking for a motion for item 5A2A6, request approval of a contract amendment for Wellbeing in Action for System of Care grant. A7, request approval of a contract with McLean County Center for Human Services to provide psychiatric services for System of Care grant. A8, request approval of a contract with the Center for Youth and Family Solutions for the care coordination services for the System of Care grant. And A9, request approval of a contract with the Baby Fold for intensive home and community-based services for the System of Care grant. May I have a motion? Motion by Byrne, second by Rogal. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A2, A6, A7, A8, and A9, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have item 5A2B for your items for information. Ms. Landry.
The first item that we have is the 2026 to 2028 Behavioral Health Action Plan, which finally was published earlier this month, so it is there for your review. We're very excited. It was very good BHCC has been around for a while, but in this kind of new restructured version, it was very energizing to have an opportunity to take a group that was kind of looking for new direction and kind of getting their feet underneath them as far as now what under the new roles and responsibilities that they had, to really establish a shared goal and a shared vision between them. So we're very happy to have this new plan that we feel generally is a lot more accessible in how easy it is to read. We purposely made it fairly broad. One, because we already have the Community Health Needs Assessment and Community Health Improvement Plan, which provides a lot of specific metric-based goals around behavioral health. So we didn't need to necessarily replicate that, but we also did a lot of work to make sure that the recommendations are specific enough to make sure that we're headed in the right direction, but broad enough to ensure that everyone in our community can contribute their own expertise to how we get there. So definitely looking forward to getting more information about what this looks like for 2026. We have a request for information out that's currently out and public so that we can get a better picture of how to plan for 2026. And we're definitely looking forward to getting this plan out there and engaging the community a lot more with it.
Thank you. I will say that we do also have our new website live that promotes, and it is McLeanBHCC.com, not gov or org, but .com. It gives you the link to the 10-page action plan itself, the history of it, the history of the Mental Health and Public Safety Fund, how to access it, how to engage. So there's quite a bit of information, and I believe that's where we hope to have our dashboard at some point as well. But there's lots of resources. It is a good step in the direction of transparency and accessibility for this plan. Okay. And moving on, item 5A2B2 and your department report.
This is my department report. Since we did not have a meeting last month, this department report, I believe, goes through September. So there are, of course, things that have been happening before that. But there's updated information on how Fuse has been performing. We continue to see a sizable decrease in the number of interactions that Fuse participants have with the homeless shelters, the jail, and with the emergency departments for substance use and mental health reasons. And we're staying pretty steady at around 45 active clients at this point, which is close to, I believe, 70 total people served since the inception of the program. So the Fuse team has been doing beautifully with shifting to an altered way of delivering services since the program has grown very quickly in the last couple of years. The Behavioral Health Forum was also last week, which I believe is at least referenced in here. That was also very successful. We're still kind of crunching the numbers about what actually ended up happening, but we had a record-breaking 324 people sign up for the forum, and it ended up representing at least 50 collaborative efforts of at least 50 different local organizations. So the energy was good. We have already had lots of excellent feedback. So we're looking forward to using that good feedback to continue to plan good events in 2026. There's also some updated information about spending for those different portions of the community project grant and what that progress looks like, although that ended at September. So some of those numbers, there'll be more updated numbers the next time I bring a report. And there's some additional detail about what Behavioral Health Coordinating Council has been up to, most of which was finishing up the plan and about completing our website, as well as just a report that we did have 4 preview sessions in collaboration with the League of Women Voters in September before we debuted that plan to get some eyes who hadn't been staring at those pages for months in front of it, and we got a lot of good feedback to adjust little things to make it make a little bit more sense to a wider audience.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? A couple things to highlight as we are working towards expanding provider services in the community. Noted in here is the hiring of a psychiatrist for youth as young as 5. Psychiatric care for anyone in this community is difficult, but for children is particularly hard. It's a specialty. So I'm glad to see that happening. We've had our first annual youth support summit. Hopefully that will continue to be a thing like our BH Forum. And the last thing that I do want to highlight is the working together with the McLean County Farm Bureau and SIU's Farm Family Resources, looking for opportunities to share information about the Farm Family Helpline as far as a crisis resource for our rural farmers as well. So thank you for all your hard work. And with that, we will move on to item 5B, the Finance Committee. With Ms. Laming gone, we'll turn it over to Member Friedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finance Committee brings 2 action items for executive. And that is 5B1A, request approval of a second McLean County Animal Control Shelter Project intergovernmental agreement, and I so move.
May I have a second? Second by Member Klein. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5B1A, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Back to you, Member Friedrich.
Our second item is 5B1B, request approval of an ordinance by the McLean County Board amending the McLean County Code, Chapter 108, Article 4, holiday and leave of absence, and I so move.
May I have a second? Second by Member Byrne. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5B1B, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Member Friedrich, looks like you guys will have multiple items to come to the board.
Yeah, 7 of them. And I'd be
Any-
happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 5C, and that is Member Byrne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Health Committee has no items for action today. We do have 2 items that we'll be presenting to the board, general business and just updating some contracts. We were fortunate enough in Health Committee to have a visit by Birth to 5, representatives from Birth to 5 who spoke about their excellent work, and by Chestnut Health Systems who spoke about their extensive work in the county. So shared out some highlights from that, and we are fortunate to partner with so many outstanding mental health organizations, including BHCC. So again, echoing Chair's comments, Marita, thank you so much for all your work on that. Congratulations to all involved, and yeah, onward.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, 5D, Justice Committee, Vice Chair Rogel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Justice Committee has 2 items to be presented for action tonight. First up is 5D1A, which is request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2025 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for Fund 0156, and I so move.
Thank you. May I have a second? Second by Member Byrne. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5D1A, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And back to you.
Next up, we have 5D1B, request approval of an ordinance by the McLean County Board amending Chapter 205, fees, Article 6, use of county morgue in the McLean County Code, and I so move.
Thank you. May I have a second? Second by Member Byrne. Any comments or questions? Looks like a minor increase, but trying to keep up with.
Yeah, it's just a minor increase for the small amount that other counties use our facilities.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5D1B, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you so much. Moving on to 5E, Property Committee, Member Abel.
Thank you very much. The Property Committee has no items to be presented for action tonight, but we will have 2 items for the board on Thursday, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Moving on, 5F, Land Use and Transportation Committee, Member Klein.
The Land Use and Transportation Committee does not have any items to present for action this evening, but we will have 2 items for Thursday evening, and happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much. Moving on, item 5G, and this is a report of our County Administrator, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. I have several items to present tonight. If the board would be willing to consider, I believe we could move A and B together as one action item. And that would be establishing the McLean County Board dates, county board meeting dates for calendar year 2026, and then also establishing the holiday schedule for year 2026.
Seeing no objections, may I get a motion for item 5G, 1A and B together? Member Rogal, can I get a second? Second by Klein. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5G, 1A and B, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up will be 5G, 1C, and that is request approval of the fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for the Regional Planning Commission Fund 0010. Can I have a motion to get it on the floor? Motion by Burns, second by Abel. I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a PowerPoint to present with our recommended budget. This is a carryover since we did not have a meeting in October. Typically, these are the presentations and reports that you will see in October. I have condensed these, but moving on to regional planning, which is the item that you have on the floor right now. This begins on 129 of your packet. And just as a reminder, I have Jennifer Six, who is a longstanding employee of McLean County Regional Planning Commission. She will be representing the department tonight. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for being here. I'd also like to acknowledge Kathy Dreyer as we go through these budgets. Kathy Dreyer was very instrumental, was the lead in helping to create a balanced budget, and she will most likely be helping me to answer questions tonight, should you have any. So just as a quick overview of the Regional Planning Commission, the designated MPO for Bloomington Normal urbanized area is what is covered there in the dotted lines. That is under the purview of MCRPC. They are also mandated to be a part of the McLean County single audit due to our GATA standards. And their budget was approved by their own commission. They do have their own RPC that has a commission, and that was approved in September of this year. So moving on, staff creates these great outlines for us when we review the budget in September. The total budget for the department is $1,492,824. Expenses do equal revenues. The majority of the revenues come from grants. As you can see there, salaries are about 50% of the budget. Consultants are 22%, and those are the largest categories by far. Looking at the next slide, this is just a different view of the same information. This pie chart corresponds with our ERP budget categories for salaries, supplies, services, and capital assets. Shown here again, salaries are your biggest category. The 1% for capital assets shown here is for updated computer equipment for the department. Then moving on to this chart, I believe Jennifer Six created this chart for us, and it is very colorful, holds a lot of information on one view, but it really summarizes all of the different revenue streams that RPC is working under. So the regional service agreements account for 11% of the revenue, and that is from the city, the town, and the county. So you can see the county's portion of this budget is $54,000. However, you are approving the entirety of it tonight. The RAISE grant is 22%. FHWA and FTA stands for Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration. We do have grants through them. The MPO State Metropolitan Planning Grant makes up about 47%. The Human Services Transportation Planning for Region 6 is 5%. I think that summarizes the majority of that slide. Then moving on by this pie chart, you can see the county's contribution through the service agreement makes up about 4% of the total revenues. There is a varied stream of revenues for this commission. And that is all I have for overview.
Comments or questions from the committee? When I was going through this, one of the things that we did get was a DCEO grant, and this is allowing us to do the expansion of the housing efforts from the McLean County Regional Planning, and that was some of the questions that I had. So I know this isn't really particularly your area of expertise, but any clarifications you can give us or staff can give us. We see that we've got full-time salaries in here, but we also see a massive increase in the consultant fees and the contract services. Is that part of the DCEO grant?
There are subcategories of what's happening. I guess I did. There are several classifications for several projects taking place under the Housing Initiative umbrella. And one of those is for it's not a new staff position. It is a new position for a limited time contract worker who will help usher forward the RISE implementation grant, which is separate from the RISE grant that was used to create the document. And that is, we had originally thought that person would come on board a little earlier this fall. I don't know the details, I'm sorry to say, but there has been some delay in that. But that, under what we call work element 210, which is the general housing projects, that would be the change in what would either be a consultant or a non-salaried, non-permanent employee for the purposes of that grant.
So we're not hiring somebody permanently, but hiring somebody based on the length of the grant.
Correct. This is specific to that grant, and it is specific to the activities relating to the implementation of the housing initiative plans that have been made so far. And I don't know details on salary versus, whatever other components would be involved here, but that is not a MCRPC staff member. That is someone being hired simply to carry out this aspect of this program.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I also noticed there was an increase in the travel budget, and I was curious if we know, is that going to be coming out of the DCEO grant as well?
That's my understanding, that is intended to fund this limited purpose employee as they conduct whatever activities are required to carry out the implementation of the housing initiative. And that would involve travel around the county, around whatever other sources are required. So that's how that would work.
So we are expecting quite a bit of engagement from this position.
I think that's part of the point of having someone specifically assigned to do nothing but this, because we tend to get diverted.
Correct. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, all in favor of item 5G1C, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have 5G1D, and that's request approval of fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for the Information Technologies Department 0001-0043 subdepartments, data processing 0047, record management 0048, and county GIS 0107. Can I have a motion? Motion by Rogel, second by Byrne. All right, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Just making my notes. So moving on to information technologies. Looking at the IT budget overview, IT does serve all of our county departments for technical support, ranging from help desk tickets to level 1 issue resolution. They also are involved and very instrumental in our project planning and management of our large systems. So right now we have several major software system upgrades that this department is working with administration on. The total budget for IT totals $7,137,920. Salaries and employee costs make up 27% of the budget. The majority of this budget does fall in the services category. And then looking to more of an overview, we do see a 64% increase overall to this budget. The increases include requests for new positions, a director of application, and 2 data analysts. The Funding Advisory Committee through the Mental Health and Public Safety Fund did vote to reimburse the IT budget for 60% of the Director of Applications and 100% of the data analyst's salary and fringe. So that will be a transfer that will occur through that salary. They did ask to reclass positions in response to additional duties and responsibilities being assigned in our network security. Two network specialists were upgraded to a senior network engineer and a lead network support specialist. Again, we're trying to keep level with the market in this field. We did I'm seeing here in my note that 50% of the network security specialist positions are reimbursed from our tort fund. Supplies did increase. We have a new phone system that is required. And as soon as I'm done with my presentation, I'm sure there'll be follow-up questions with that. Contractual services, total contractual services is totaling 1.5 million. Some of that is included for the Integrated Justice Information System project. We also have software maintenance for Aegis. It does not cover the salaries or the ARPA covered expenses. So as you will remember with the Aegis project, we used our ARPA dollars first, the first 6 million. That will come to an end in 2026. For our capital asset lines, this does allow for the purchase of new desks for new staff. And we've already talked about this earlier in the meeting, but our GIS budget increased for an aerial flyover for 2026. That's it for the overview. I'm sure we'll get into some specifics.
Comments and questions? Member Reeves.
What exactly is an aerial flyover for GIS?
I'll be happy to tell. Most of you would probably be most familiar with seeing them in Google Maps when you see the layout, the photographs of it from above. And that's pretty good for the consumer. For doing engineering work and the kind of construction and development that's needed by the city, by the town, and keeping up with the needs of places like Farnsworth and places like that, places that do engineering. And we, every 4 years, contract a flyover where the plane actually goes over and takes a snapshot of every single tile. They're done in tiles of property. And if you go to mcgis.gov, you can see historically the flyovers that have been done in the past every 3 to 4 years and see how things have changed. So it helps significantly, especially when there's a lot of building development going on in terms of planning and economic planning, that type of thing, and engineering.
And if I remember correctly, it's very important to be doing it at this time of the year as the leaves are falling off and before snow. And
Yeah, it has to be done typically in March, and before the leaf comes on to the trees and begins to obfuscate the view that you would have from that level. So, there's a lot of different people use the information for a lot of different purposes.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Others? Yes, Member Reeves.
Is this LiDAR or stereography or just regular photos?
Well, my GIS person isn't here. This is not LiDAR itself in this particular case. It is available, but I think they've been using LiDAR less and less. It is predominantly just the photographic tiles. And then typically the city and town is their part of it. We do a higher resolution, closer resolution for the urbanized areas than we do the cornfields. So we try to reduce the cost by keeping that at a less detailed resolution. So.
Other comments or questions? All right, seeing none. Oh, Member Byrne.
All right, just very quick question, but just to confirm, you did say that FAC did vote to approve to help fund the data analyst and the network specialist position, is that correct?
That is correct.
That's part of it, yeah.
Thank you.
There were no concerns about the CJCC budget. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of 5G1D, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have 5G1E, request approval of the fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for Mental Health and Public Safety Fund 0007, including County Board Department 0001, Mental Health Program 0060, and Non-Departmental Department 0099, Program 0099. May I have a motion? Motion by Byrne, second by Abel. Turn it over to you, Ms. Saylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the overall budget total for the fund as a whole is $8,297,024 for FY 2026. As a reminder, the intergovernmental agreement does hold 4 components, including our debt service on our jail expansion, contribution to the Aegis replacement project, mental health in justice settings, including our jail, and our community mental health initiatives, many of which Marita spoke of earlier in the meeting. Last year, our Funding Advisory Council was formed, which is made up of a representative from our BHCC, our CJCC, a representative from the town, from the city, and from the county. It's a 5-member group, and that FAC recommends a budget for the community behavioral health initiatives and the criminal justice related services in support of the mental health action plan. So this budget that's being presented tonight does include the 2026 budget recommendations from the FAC. For a budget overview, the estimated revenue for the same year, it's a balanced budget, so we are estimating a use of 37% from the city of Bloomington, 27% from the town of Normal, and 36% from our fund balance. For the community behavioral health program, this would be the BHC work. This portion of the budget totals $3.5 million. It is the largest category showing is services, which is 68% of the budget. This overall budget has decreased about 1.7% from the previous year, but that is due to us moving some other portions of the budget around. Not that we're trying to fund community projects less. For our criminal justice behavioral health programs, that portion is $1.9 million. And listed there are some bullet points of efforts that the CJCC recommended, including increased medication for criminal justice clients and inmates, increased jail psych services, mental health training for staff. You can read all those budget items or bullet points listed there. And then for other costs, again, we pay the debt service of the jail, a portion of that. It's $1.1 million that's coming from this fund. We do have the integrated case management system. The portion coming from this fund is about $1.7 million. And then we have the Systems of Care grant local match, and that's $271,223.
Comments or questions? Yes, Member Friedrich.
Do we know the increase in the budget for mental health today as opposed to last year? Would you have that?
What will the grand total was? All right,
For
to
regional
clarify
plan-
your question, are you meaning the grand total that was coming out of this fund last year?
Correct.
We do have that. We just have to find it in our stack of sheets. So it would take us a while to add those together. the way it's listed in our
That's
packet.
fine. You can get back to me on that, because I was going to ask a question on the recommended budget for the Regional Planning Commission. You made a statement that the funding for that had increased 56% over the prior year. Is that 64%?
The Regional Planning Commission?
No. Okay, IT, that's right. IT was before that.
Mhm.
But that budget increased 64% from the prior year? Is that?
IT did, yes.
Okay, so that's what my reoccurring theme here is what the increase or decrease would be for these other requests moving forward. I'm just kind of curious. And that's a lot of questions. And you can not answer that today, but it would be maybe a question in a couple days.
For Thursday.
Yeah, is that fair?
I think that's fair. I think the other thing to keep in mind is that this year, particularly with the behavioral health department, is that with the reorganization in 2024, we saw a significant increase in community projects. And we've also seen some, the CJCC understanding a bit better the accessibility of some of the funding, as much as it is that, as well as kind of understanding like what are the possibilities and how they took a couple of years to kind of get them moving. So we've seen a pretty significant increase. However, what we're doing is getting up to the spending levels that really we had anticipated being commensurate from the beginning. So we're kind of getting on track. We are tackling some aspirational projects with this because we do have the ability to do that. And I think that is going to propel us forward as a community. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, I think the numbers that you're looking for may have to come on Thursday. I do
You
understand.
understand,
I do
okay,
understand what
you
you're
know,
asking.
because they'll be asked by other people.
Member Klein?
If I could, just for the point of clarification, the increase in the budgetary amount for IT was not all going to be paid by McLean County, right? I mean, that there is a total increase, but some of the money is going to be transferred in from the shared sales tax to cover certain portions of it.
That is
That is
correct.
Right, so that's not
64%.
64%, yeah, is not all coming from from our property tax database. It's coming
Correct.
from transferring from that fund, just to be.
Correct.
And in your packet, it does show the 2025 amounts, so you could add those together. So I do believe that the request from CJCC is a little less than it was last year. The request from the Community Behavioral Health is a little bit more. We were trying to add those all up. There's some transfers involved, so it takes a little bit longer, but I believe this ask is about $1 million more than last year, and it's coming all out of that mental health and public safety fund.
Okay, other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5G1E, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have item 5G1F. Request approval of the fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for Behavioral Health Fund 0008, County Board Department 0001, Mental Health Program 0060, and System of Care Grant Program 0102. Can I have a motion? Motion by Rogal, second by Byrne. Comments or questions?
So I do have a few slides for this as well. So this continues on with behavioral health. This involves the revenue coming in from the forum that we hold every year. We've held that for 8 years. So this, the estimated revenue for this fund is about 43.7, 10,000 coming from forum revenue from our providers, and then a transfer from the Mental Health and Public Safety Fund for the forum in the amount of about 33,000. These expenses are related specifically to the costs of putting on the forum itself. The next part of this fund is our System of Care Grant. This is federal funding that the county applied for through SAMHSA for the expansion and sustainability of mental health services for children with serious emotional disturbance. We have revenues coming in from the federal government in the amount of a little over 500,000. And then there is a local match that is applied, and that comes from the Mental Health and Public Safety Fund in the amount of 271,223. This does cover the costs for a project manager, which is required by the grant. And then we also subcontract with all of our local providers that are the experts in this field. And so contracted agencies include Center for Youth and Family Solutions, McLean County Center for Human Services, Babyfold, Wellbeing in Action, and maybe a couple others I'm not thinking of. That's the totality of this fund.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5G1F, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, item 5G1G, request approval of the fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for County Board 0001.0001.0001 and County Board Fleet 0001.0001.0100. May I get a motion? Motion by Byrne, second by Abel. I'll turn that back to you.
Very good. So this covers our county board budget. The county board budget does contain all of the revenues that support the budgets within the general fund. So these revenues would include property tax, sales tax, state taxes, and revenues that come in from fees and fines. The total revenues are budgeted at $36,903,778. And in the pie chart, you can visually see that property tax is the largest source, with our retailers' occupation tax being next in line. Moving on to an overview, the county board expenses include the salaries for the county board members and any contractual expenses related to county board. So you can see some of those expenses include the payments for our partnership with other entities, including our Dropbox Recycling, our Ecology Action Center agreements, Heartland Leadership Training for staff, any of our general code updates online, our Economic Development Council, and the Regional Office of Education, and then any transfers for METCOM for our county's portion of those expenses to run the center. Lastly, our county board fleet is budgeting for 2 departments for this upcoming year. For the sheriff's department, we've budgeted $283,000. That is to trade in 2 vehicles and 1 transit van, and to purchase 1 vehicle. The budgeted amount does include trade-in values for those squad cars. And then the Building and Zoning Department has requested $28,000 to purchase a new vehicle. They have not had a new vehicle in quite some time.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5G1G, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, item 5G1H, request approval of fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for County Administrator's Office Fund 0001, Department 0002, and Program 0002. May I get a motion? Motion by Rogal. May I have a second? Second by Byrne. I'll turn that back
Thank you,
over.
Madam Chair. So the administration budget overview, the total budget is $856,331. Overall expenses increased 35%. That was mainly from moving some salary positions from the tort budget to the general fund budgets. So you can see here salaries and employee costs make up 79% of this budget. Salary lines increased due to 3 of our HR employees that were previously paid out of our tort fund now being covered in this budget. The tort fund will then reimburse 70% of the HR manager's position for salary and 15% of the recruiting and training specialist's salary and fringe. Administrative expenses overall increased 35%. Most of the expenses decreased to reflect historical trends, but the salaries and fringe did increase due to moving those positions around. Operating and office supplies decreased by a little over 3,000. Dues and memberships decreased, and schooling and conferences decreased significantly. That was due to moving the Heartland training into the county board budget. And that's all I have for this.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5G1H, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have item 5G1I, request approval of the fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for the Illinois Opioid Allocation Fund 0113, Administrative Support Program 0020. May I get a motion? Motion by Burns, second by Abel. And I'll turn that back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Illinois Opioid Allocation Fund receives, McLean County receives funding through this fund for opioid settlements through the National Opioid Abatement Trust 2 distribution. This funding is scheduled to continue through 2038 and must be used specifically for the abatement of the opioid crisis. So the total budget for 2026 fiscal year is $603,732. Those expenses would include Narcan and other medical supplies, $200,000 for a medication assistant recovery program, a little over $80,000 for a substance abuse counselor, and $320,000 for contracted services. Those contracted services include a Chestnut employee or employees for overdose prevention coordination. That 110 is allocated for that. 110 is allocated for education prevention programming through Project Oz, and 100,000 is allocated for cardiac monitors to be used by first responders during overdose calls, and those have typically been picked up by our rural fire departments.
Correct. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5G1I, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have item 5G1J, request approval of an agreement with Strategic Advocacy Partners to provide governmental relations and legislative affairs services. And you should have all received that in an email for the packet. May I get a motion? Motion by Rogel. May I get a second? By Klein. Did you want to speak to this?
So we had an RFP that was released. We did receive 5 responses to that proposal. It was a difficult time looking through the proposals. We had 3 county board members that participated, plus myself. And all of the proposals were excellent. We did finally land on Strategic Advocacy Partners for their ability to respond to McLean County's needs, their presence in Springfield. They have a longstanding presence, I believe 3 decades in Springfield through their firm. They also gave a reasonable price quote for the proposal. I've been in contact with Mr. Grady. They are very excited to take us on as a client. They understand that their contract will not begin until January 1 as we finish out our current agreement, but they've already noted that things get going really quickly in the beginning of the year, and so that they will not let a contract stop them from communicating with us. So they're planning on having some phone calls in December to see what our needs are as the legislative group meets, to see how they can assist with us getting prepared for the spring session.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5G1J, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 5G 2, items to be presented to the board.
I have nothing else to present to this committee.
Thank you very much. Moving on, item 5H, presentation of the fiscal year 2026 recommended budget. 1 is consideration for recommended fiscal year 2026 departmental budgets. A, if you don't mind, do you want to take them all as one? Any opposition? So we'll move on for looking for a motion for 5H. 1A, request consideration and approval of departmental budgets under the Oversight and Executive Committee from Vice Chair Rogal. B, request consideration and approval of departmental budgets under the Oversight and Finance Committee from Chair Lehman. C, request consideration and approval of departmental budgets under the Oversight of the Justice Committee, Chair Rogal. D, request consideration and approval of departmental budgets under the Oversight of the Property Committee, Chair Abel. E, request consideration and approval of departmental budgets under the Oversight of the Health Committee, Chair Byrne. And F, request consideration and approval of departmental budgets under the Oversight of Land Use and Transportation Committee, Chair Klein. May I have a motion? Motion by Rogal and a second by Byrne. Comments or questions? These are your committees. You had some robust discussions. I feel like the pieces that came forward were in full support of your committees. Any other comments or questions from people who were not on the committees, but part of this one? Member Klein.
I just want to ask a blanket question. Did anybody not have a unanimous vote on your budgets and your committees? Just for the record. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. All right, seeing no other comments or questions, all in favor of item 5H, 1, A, B, C, D, E, and F, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, 5H, 2, request approval of a 5-year capital improvement budget as recommended by the Oversight Committee. Can I have a motion? By Rogal, may I have a second? Second by Byrne. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5H2, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item is 5H3, request approval of the amendment to the full-time equivalent FTE resolution for fiscal year 2026. May I have a motion? Motion by Byrne, second by Abel. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5H3, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, item 5H4, request approval of the fiscal year 2026 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance as recommended by the Oversight Committees. May I have a motion? Motion by Abel, second by Byrne. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5H4, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, item 5H5, request approval of the McLean County 2025 tax levy ordinance. May I have a motion? Motion by Abel, second by Rogal. Comments or questions? Yes, Member Friedrich.
I hate to put anybody on the spot again. Do we know the budget levy for 2024? Yes. Real quick. Thank you.
Do you mean what we levied for 2025? $49,324,198.
Perfect. 49 million. All right. Yep. So it's
Any other
50
comments?
this year.
Up to yes. Like everybody else, we are subject to increasing expenses. Food prices go up at the jail, electricity costs go up. We're working on it, but we are subject to it as well. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5H5, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, item number 6, other business and communication. Our next meeting date will be December the 8th, 2025 at 4 p.m. Is there any other business from the committee? I thank you for your time, your attention to the details of tonight and getting it in before 5 o'clock. So we are ready to go, and this meeting is adjourned.